Hi, it's Sylvester, and today I'm feeling a little sad because I'm thinking about where my life could have went. Where I could have gone, the things I could have been. I'm thinking about what could have been. And it's not that I hate where I am. It's not that I hate my life. I mean, some days I do, but it's definitely not where I thought my life would be. It's not where I thought I would be at this point in my life. I really had high expectations for myself when I was younger, and I had a lot of potential. I feel like that's something that a lot of people probably say about me behind my back is like, Sylvester, he had so much potential. It's a shame that he ended up the way that he did because I did. I had a lot of potential. I really, really did. I could have been something great. I really believe that, but I uh, I ended up where I am, and where I am is not where I feel like I should be. And a lot of like a major thing that could have changed the course of my life, changed the trajectory of my life. One thing that definitely would have helped is medication. Now I have anger issues and a lot of things piss me off, but one thing that pisses me off a lot is when people talk about how they are against medication. Because medication has undoubtedly saved my life and changed my life for the better. I would not be here today if it weren't for good, proper medication. And I wish that I could go back in time and get medication at a younger age. Like I've suffered with depression my entire life. I didn't get diagnosed until like 2018 or something, but I'm 99.9% sure that I've had depression pretty much since I was born. And I look back on how much I suffered in my childhood and in my teenage years, and I think about how things could have been so different had I had proper antidepressants. And when I say proper antidepressants, I mean like antidepressants that actually would have worked because I've tried antidepressants in the past that didn't do anything for me. And so it is trial and error. Like, I don't know if those were just the wrong antidepressants or if it was too low of a dose, but I just gave up on them instead of working with my doctor to try to find the proper medication that would actually make a difference for me. But this was in my mid 20s when I finally tried antidepressants for the first time. And again, I wish I would have tried antidepressants when I was a lot younger, like when I was a teenager. My life could have been so much better. It could have saved me so much suffering. And I started smoking marijuana in 2011, I think, and I was doing it mostly to self medicate because I didn't have access to proper medication. I, smoking marijuana made me feel good and it helped with my depression. And I ended up becoming addicted to it, and it ended up becoming a really bad thing in my life. I ended up suffering with really extreme psychosis because of my marijuana addiction, and like my life could have just turned out so much. Like if I had been on antidepressants, I don't know if I would have turned to marijuana, and again my life could have been so different. And I think about how I suffered in my 20s with depression and PTSD, and how I refused to try to get on medication because I just was against it. I mean, in high school, I was against medication because I was an animal rights activist and I just really didn't like animal testing. And I still don't like animal testing, but to a certain degree, I think it is kind of a necessary evil. And as selfish as it might sound, I wish I could go back to my teenage self and convince him that you got to put yourself first. You can't always care that much about animals if it means you're going to suffer, if it means your life is going to be worse. And I would have tried to convince my younger self to go on medication, even though I was against animal testing, because medication would have made my life so much better. And again, it sucks that animals are dying and being tortured in order to develop new medications, And I dream of a future where animal testing is performed more ethically or where it's not necessary at all. But as it is right now, I do think that I would rather be on medication that improves my life than not be on medication because I'm protesting animal testing. And then when I was in my 20s, I didn't care as much about animal rights, and so the reason I didn't want to go on medication was just because I just didn't like it. I didn't like the idea of it. I didn't like the idea of being, on some kind of substance in order to survive, which is ironic because I was smoking marijuana every day and I needed it to survive basically. And so, I was against medication while actively self medicating with marijuana. And so, the irony of being like, I don't want to have to rely on a substance in order to live. Well, I was relying on a substance in order to live. So and I just felt like it was unnatural. Like I felt like it was a weakness. I felt like, I don't know. I don't even know what exactly I was thinking. I just didn't like the idea of being on medication. I just didn't like it. And then I started suffering with psychosis in 2019, and it took me years to finally be able to access antipsychotics. And, a lot of that is because I just didn't try to access antipsychotics. And it's because I didn't feel like it was necessary. I didn't think that it would help. I don't know. I just didn't want to, I just didn't want to. I was just fundamentally against the idea of being medicated. And I don't really know why. And like I said, in 2018-ish, I was put on antidepressants and they didn't do anything for me. So I had this idea in my head of medication doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. It's just all in your head. It's placebo effect. You're given an antidepressant and you think that it helps, but it doesn't actually help. You're just convincing yourself that it helps. And I don't know. I just didn't think it would work. I didn't think it would do anything for me. And then when I actually did try to get on antipsychotics, it took me a while to actually be able to get on antipsychotics. So it's not like it's easy. You got to fight for it sometimes in order to get the medication that you need. It's not always just handed to you, and I'm lucky that I have a drug plan so I can afford my antipsychotics and my other medication. And I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't have drug plans. A lot of people have to pay out of pocket for their medication, and medication can get really expensive. And so I know that medication is not something that's always easy to access or something that's easy to have, but it's very, very worth it. And again, it saved my life. If I weren't on antipsychotics right now, I would still be hallucinating. I'd still be experiencing extreme delusions. I'd be suffering incredibly. And I think about how different my life could have been had I had access to proper medication from a younger age, and how much suffering I could have saved myself. If back in 2019, when I started hearing voices, if I had just gone and gotten antipsychotics, it would have saved me years of suffering. And again, my life could be so different. My life could be so different, and it hurts me. It's a pain that I don't know how to describe to you, the pain of thinking about what could have been. I had this vision for what I wanted from my life. I had a vision of who I was going to be. Now I'm 31 years old and I'm not anywhere close to where I thought I'd be at this point in my life. And it hurts me. It really hurts. But there's nothing I can do about it. And it's good that I'm on medication now because it's better late than never, right? I could have gone years longer without being on medication, and that would have been years of suffering. So, by being on medication now, I'm saving myself potential suffering. And so, again, it's better late than never, but it really, really hurts in a way that I don't know how to put into words, to think about where my life could have ended up at this point, where I could have gone and the things I could have done and the person I could have been. It really sucks. And so I'm very grateful to medication because it has saved my life and it has saved me a ton of suffering. And there was a lot of trial and error. I was on medication that helped a little bit, but wasn't really the medication that I should have been on. And it wasn't until content warning, suicide. It wasn't until I tried to kill myself twice last year. The second time I tried to kill myself, finally they changed up my medication to a cocktail of drugs that actually help, that actually do what they're supposed to be doing. And so, like, I'm very grateful for that, but it sucks that I had to almost kill myself twice in order to get here. But that's the thing. If you've tried medication and if it's not working or if it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, ask your doctor to give you a different medication or maybe change the dose or, get a second opinion because the medication that my doctor had me on was evidently not working. I mean, it was working, but it wasn't working as well as it should have been. And so again, it wasn't until I tried to kill myself the second time that a psychiatrist at the hospital changed my medication up, and that psychiatrist was able to give me a better cocktail of drugs that actually, have improved my life quite a bit. So if your doctor is prescribing you medication and it's not working, or if it's not, you're having like side effects, like the drugs that my doctor had me on made me really tired all the time, and I was just like a zombie. Try getting a second opinion. Go ask your doctor to hook you up with a psychiatrist who can give you a second opinion. Or I don't know. Like, I don't know how the healthcare system works where you are, but it's always worth trying to get a second opinion and not giving up. If the medication that you're on isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing, don't give up. There are other drugs you could be on, or there's a different dose you could be on that could actually help. And so, don't give up. There is help. There is hope. There is hope. There's help for you. Again, I know it's way easier said than done. It's not always easy to access medication, and it's not always easy to be able to afford medication, but it is worth it, if you ask me. And it really, really does bother me when there are people out there who are anti-medication, because it's that mentality that made me so afraid to be on medication for so much of my life. This pervasive idea that pharmaceuticals are bad for you and that they're unnatural and that you're weak if you need medication, and like all this stigma surrounding medication. It really is very unhelpful, and we need to get rid of that stigma, and we need to make people understand that medications are okay and they save lives, especially when it comes to medications for mental health. I know there's a lot of people out there who are very against antidepressants. There are people I've seen online who say that it's like the all the things wrong with the world boil down to the fact that so many people are being prescribed antidepressants, and it makes me really, really upset, because it's like the antidepressants are not the problem. It's the underlying mental illnesses that these antidepressants are treating that's the problem, and the antidepressants are part of the solution to the problem. And it's just like people talk about, like, I don't know. There's lots of reasons why people are, there's like anti-vaxxers, and there's people who are scared of big pharma and they think that it's all just a money grab. And like, there's so many reasons why people are anti-medication, and none of them are valid reasons, if you ask me. I mean, the closest thing I can think of to a valid reason is the one that I had in high school, which is that I didn't like animal testing because, yeah, animal testing is awful. It's really, really awful. I've seen videos of animals getting tested on, and it's just nightmare fuel, absolutely horrible. It's just horrific, the things that we put animals through in order to have medical advancements. But again, I do think it is a necessary evil in a lot of ways. And I do hope for a day where it's not necessary, or at least where we treat the animals that we're testing on better. But as it stands right now, it is, you got to do what you got to do, and medication, it it saves lives, and it makes lives better. And you don't want to be like me. If you're a young person watching this and you think that you have depression, or you think that you're suffering with some kind of mental illness, please, I urge you to try to get some kind of medical help. Try to talk to your doctor about it. Try to get a diagnosis and try to get medication, because it really can help and it really can change the course of your life. I really, really, really am so hurt thinking about how much better my life could be right now if I had just gotten onto antidepressants when I was in high school. You know? And so, or like even just how much better my life would be if I had just gone on antipsychotics in 2019 when I first started experiencing psychosis. Like, my life could have been so much better. And I wish that it was. Anyway, that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay frosty. Bye.